We spent the last few days building these raised beds right here. These are the 17-inch 10-in-1 raised beds from Vego Garden. Let me go ahead and start off by saying this video is not sponsored. Vego Gardens didn't send us any of these for free, and we didn't even get a discount. I definitely emailed Vego Gardens and tried to get on their affiliate program, and they didn't email me back. But I knew I wanted raised beds this year, and I did a lot of research into what raised beds that I wanted. And Vego Gardens is what I landed on. After building 12 of these raised beds, I feel like we have a pretty good handle on the best possible way to assemble these, what the quality's like, and really if they're worth the money. By the time you finish this video, you're gonna know everything you need to know about these raised beds. Although I didn't get an email back from Vego Gardens, I am an Amazon affiliate, and there's Amazon links below. It doesn't cost you anything extra to buy through those links, it just gives me a very small commission. So let's start back at the beginning, see how we built these, see how we feel about them, pros, cons, all of it. Let's go. Well, the wind died down and it ended up turning into quite a beautiful day out here. It almost feels like spring here in Utah. We're trying to hurry up and get these beds done because we have like 2 days where it's not gonna be snowing. It's supposed to snow all next week. Again, it's crazy. We have officially built 4 of these beds. It took us all day long. I think we finally have a system down that kind of speeds things up a little bit. I'm gonna hold off on showing that to you because I wanna wait till we have it really dialed in, and then on the last couple of beds, I'm gonna slow it down and kind of show every step-by-step thing that we do and kind of try to figure out the best and fastest and most efficient possible way of doing it, because there's a lot to it. It's kind of a really long and tedious process. Today was kind of more just a fun day hanging out with the kids and just kind of having a good time out in the outside. It was a good day. We had a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying these raised beds. There's 1 or 2 things that I'm definitely kind of nitpicking that I don't like, that I feel could be better, and I'll tell you about those later in the video. I want to kind of really get my hands on these a little bit more before telling you everything I don't like. But as a whole, I'm really impressed with these raised beds, and let's take a second and talk about why I went with Vego Gardens over something like Birdie's, because Birdie's is kind of like the industry standard. I feel like everybody wants Birdie's beds, and I really heavily looked into Birdie's as well as Vego Gardens when I was looking into what raised beds I want. Well, Birdie's has 2 heights of raised beds that I could find, and that's going to be 15 inches and 30 inches. And the Vego versions, they actually come in 17 inches and 32 inches. So you get an extra 2 inches of height there. I think 32 inches is almost excessive, but 17 inches, the extra 2 inches on top of the 15 to me was kind of a big deal. I didn't want to only have 15 inches. The extra 2 inches there it was really kind of a decision maker for me. Another big one for me is Birdie's beds don't come in an 8x4 configuration, and the way I'm setting up my garden, I really needed that 8x4 configuration because I'm really pushing the limits on what I can do and what I can fit in my garden. And Birdie's, they were going to be smaller beds, and I was going to have to buy more in the long run to fill up my space. I think that both Birdie's and Vego are both really, really good beds, and realistically, if you want 15 inches instead of 17 inches or 30 inches instead of 32 inches, then definitely look into Birdie's beds and see the different configurations they have, because those are great beds. But for me, in the dimensions that I wanted and kind of the dimensions I have within my garden, I wanted a 4x8 bed that is 17 inches tall. So those are the 2 biggest reasons. Now, I think both Birdie's and Vego talk about the metal that they're made out of and how they last 20 years and everything like that. And I guess that's to be determined. We'll find out. I will say that these do feel sturdy, and I'm confident that they're going to last 5 or 10 times longer than any wooden raised bed that's out there. This really is made of some high quality materials. It has a steel substrate with a zinc alloy coating on top of that and some USDA certified paint. It's not supposed to leach any chemicals into the soil, which is a huge plus. If you get into pressure treated wood or any kind of treated wood like that, you're going to be leaching chemicals into the garden, which is something you don't want. But then if you don't use pressure treated, then you end up with a garden bed that's only going to last you 2 or 3 years before it just kind of rots away. With how these don't leach any chemicals and they can last 20 years, it's almost a no-brainer for me to spend the extra money on this and to spend the extra work right now building it, because I will tell you that I probably spend 4 times as long building this bed as I would have building a wooden bed with the same dimensions. It's pretty tedious, but it's worth it. Well, hey there, neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
Now, why raised beds? Why raised beds over an in-ground garden? And for me, last year, I just being on my hands and knees and working in the garden, especially planting out the garden, wow, I realized that I'm starting to feel old. And it was just really bad on my back. Like even right now, just working on these all day, my back is on fire and it is hurting. So, you know, if I'm gonna have a garden for the next 20, 30, 40 years, I wanna have a garden that I can actually work in and enjoy being in. And that's what I'm looking for, is a comfortable place that I want to be and that I enjoy going to. So this year I'm definitely setting it up to where I'm gonna be comfortable and happy in my garden. Well, I've got a whole lot more to say about these beds. I've got a whole lot more to show you about these beds, how to put them together, the easiest way, the fastest way, all sorts of different things. But I'm gonna do that tomorrow because I am beat and my kids are inside hanging out. I wanna go hang out with them. And I want more hands-on experience with these beds before I talk about them any further than I have today. So I'm calling it a day and I'll see you tomorrow. With the help of my family, we have now built 11 of these raised beds. It was exhausting, it was tedious, but we learned a lot about how to build these pretty quickly and kind of the best way to do it, the fastest way to do it. I think we dialed it in. I think we got it pretty well figured out how to do this as fast as possible. So I'm gonna show you. First, let's talk about what comes inside of the box. All right, when you first open the box, you've got this little package here. And this is gonna be rubber little gasket thingy guard for the top that goes around the top outside edge. And then you're also gonna have your hardware. As well as those two things, you're gonna have 4 corner pieces, 4 small pieces, 4 long pieces, support rods. And those support rods are good for either 2.5 feet or 4 feet, depending on what configuration you're doing. They also sell a 4.5 foot one, but you have to buy that separately. There's some instructions in here. Honestly, we looked at this the very first time through, and then the other 10 times we just kind of went rogue and we kind of figured out the best way to do it on our own, but these are good if you've never done it before. And then they also give you just like a Vego Garden sticker. Now, I will say that we saved all the cardboard that we have in here, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay this cardboard down in the bottom of the boxes when we fill them up. I don't think it's gonna cover the bottom 100%, but I think it's gonna get a good 60-70% of that bottom covered, and then we'll find some cardboard to cover the rest of it. One quick thing that I wanna talk about and just kind of bring up is just kind of a gripe that I have, and it makes this whole process so much longer, is all of this hardware is all just jumbled and mixed together, and it doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize that there's 72 bolts, nuts, and washers in here. And once we get into this, I'll kind of show you how you have different nuts for the top 2, and then the rest down below are different. And there's just so many different components here, and they're all just in one giant bag. So when you're trying to like go through it and put all of them on, it can just turn into a mess trying to pick through all these. So it's definitely kind of a, I'm gonna say, a gripe that I have. I wish these were separated. Even if you just kind of like heat sealed the bag in a couple different sections to section these off, that'd be really helpful. Now, I will say that they do give you extra hardware, which is nice. It's not a whole lot, but it is a little bit. This is the extra hardware we have from the 11 raised beds that we did. We pull our hardware out of the bag and kind of dump it in here, and that just kind of, it's something that's easier to work with, especially when you're kind of digging around trying to find the right ones. The next thing you want to do is, before you get started in trying to put anything together, you need to remove the plastic that is on these. And we're about to get into my second gripe that I have with these raised beds, and it's probably my biggest gripe. I don't have a gripe with the plastic that's on these. A lot of the bad reviews I read about these garden beds is about the plastic that's on the front of these, and I don't have a problem with it at all. It is kind of tedious to pull it all off, but once you kind of find the system, which I'm about to show you, of how to pull these off easily, it's not that bad. That brings me into the gripe, which my gripe is, these wouldn't be needed if these didn't scratch so easily. I'm serious. You do not plan on putting these together without scratching them up, because just placing the pieces together to screw them into each other, you're gonna scratch it all up. Like, you could probably take your fingernail and run it down this and it's gonna scratch it up. I don't think it's gonna be that big of an issue once it's out in the garden, but just trying to put it together and trying to be careful and trying not to scratch it all up, it's kind of it's rough. It's definitely rough. I'm still 100% happy with my purchase, so don't let that deter you. What is the easiest way of getting this plastic off here? And what we found is, I mean, you could pull it off in any direction, but what you can do is if you loosen everything all in the top here, so go through, loosen it all on the top, and you get it started just like that. And you want to do it the long ways down or with the ridges. Once you get it there, it's really easy to just pull it off after that. So just get the top started just like that right there. And then the whole thing just pulls right off, and it makes your life so much easier. Now what you want to do is you want to pull the plastic off of every piece that you have first before you start putting it together. So I'm going to do that now. Now once you get all the plastic off of your pieces, look at your instructions and see what configuration you're doing. For us, we are doing the 8x4 configuration right here, and it tells you where to put the different pieces. You have corner pieces, short pieces, and long pieces. And as soon as you get the plastic off of everything, you want to lay it all out. So I've got long, corner, short, corner, and then I follow the same pattern over there and over there. So I have this entire raised bed laid out the way that it's going to be going together. That's important. You don't want to get confused there. We've done this 11 ways, and I promise you we found the best way to do it, to get all this to go together nicely, to fit together nicely, and to do it quickly. We're going to put these 3 pieces together first. We're going to put those 3 pieces, those 3 pieces, and those 3 pieces together. So we'll have our side as one piece, the other side is one piece, and their ends separately as one piece. Now when we're putting these together, this is my short piece right here. This is my long piece, okay? And these are for my side. What I want to do is I've got the gray on the outside, which is my outside. I want to put my long piece over top of my short piece. This is important. I'm going to show you why. It doesn't call it out in the instructions, but I feel like it's important, so I want to show you. The short piece I want on the inside of my raised bed, always. My long piece on the outside. Now there are different types of hardware that go along with this, and you need to make sure you put the right hardware at the right location. We have 2 different types of nuts here. One is a rounded top nut and the other is just like a standard nut. I don't know if you can see those in the camera. The rounded top nut goes on the top 2 holes, okay? I think that is so when you're digging around in the garden, you don't scrape yourself up on the screw. So every single of the top 2 are going to need a rounded nut and a washer and a screw. So we put the screw through. The screw is going to sit on the inside of the bed. I'm going to put the washer on right here, and I am going to put the rounded nut on top of this. It is very important right here to only put this finger tight. We don't want to tighten this up at all. You just want to leave it finger tight to where it's nice and loose. Now, when we were first trying to build these, we did this a bunch of different times. So I promise we've tried everything out. What we were doing is we were trying to now put the bottom screw in, so that way it would hold it straight, theoretically, I guess. But what we found with that is we ended up just kind of messing with it more than we needed to, and it kind of made it more difficult. So for us, the best possible way we found to do it is to just work from the top down. So now we've got the next screw down, so we're gonna go ahead and put that one in finger tight. And as you work down, it's just much easier than trying to jump around or trying to do the top and then the bottom and then fill it through. It doesn't work that well. So now we are getting to the normal nut, and this is gonna be the same. Just go ahead and hand tighten it on there. See if I can get a close-up of that for you. So we've got rounded, and then after that, it's just a normal nut. Now, to make your life as easy as possible, at least with our configuration, with your configuration, whatever you might be doing, it might be slightly different. For us, I know that this piece and the other side piece right here in this hole is gonna be the bar that goes across the support bar. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and leave this hole open for now. So whatever configuration you might have for your bed, try to visualize where that bar is going to be. The instructions tell you for the most part, but pretty much it's going to be the 3rd hole up from the bottom. So I know that it's going to be the 3rd hole up from the bottom. It's going to be right directly the two centermost lines of screws. I'm leaving that empty. So let's go ahead and skip over that. And now we are going to jump straight down to the 2nd from the bottom. And now we're going to go ahead and get the bottom one done. See, this is what I'm talking about, just digging for screws. That's what this whole process is. It's just digging through screws. Also, if you get to the bottom and it's not quite lining up, just go ahead and flip it around. It's gonna line up so much better. Just kind of give it a shake. If it's not going on very well, give it a shake. It's gonna kind of loosen everything up. Like I said, oh, a little bit of plastic. Like I said, you do everything finger tight. So if you look, there's a lot of play here, and that's what we want. We want there to be play right now, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna finger tight the entire raised bed. We're gonna build everything, put everything on finger tight. Right now we're building this on the grass. The grass isn't gonna be level, and unless you're building it on a perfectly level area, just go finger tight. It's gonna make everything fit together easier. It's going to give you some room for error. It's gonna just help you out in so many ways. And then what we'll do is when this whole thing's built, we're gonna move it over to the cement where it's flat and level, and then we'll tighten everything up. And don't forget, if you do flip this thing over to make it easier to get the bottom screw, make sure you flip it back over, because now we need to come over here and get the next one. I want the small one on the inside. Remember, for the corner pieces, it tells you that the corners need to be on the outside. It doesn't tell you for the sides, but we figured, and after kind of building it a couple different ways, this small piece does better on the inside of the bed. And I've got a different bed that I already have built that I can kind of show you why here in just a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and finish building this wall. I'm gonna go ahead and finish building the other side wall as well, because it's built the exact same way. And then I'll come back for the ends. Okay, so I have my side done here. I have my side done here. And remember, I left these 2 holes open and those 2 holes open. If you look on the inside, I've got those 2 holes open, so that way the support bars can go right there. We made the mistake of filling those holes quite a few times and then just having to pull them back out to put the bars in, so that wasn't fun. I also want to show you why we put the small pieces on the inside of the box. If you come over here, this is a different brand of raised bed, but it's the same basic idea. You have metal pieces, different sizes. You have curved pieces, long pieces, and short pieces. With this one, we put a short piece on the outside, and this just always bothers me because I don't like the way it looks. I feel like it just like bulges out. This piece over here is also a short piece, and that one is on the inside, and as you can tell, it's nice and compact and on the inside, and I just feel like it looks so much better. Okay, so here's my round corner piece and here is my short piece. And this one actually calls it out in the instructions. It tells you to put your corner piece on the outside. So I want to make sure the corner piece is on the outside, and I'm going to put the short piece on the inside. And this is going to be the exact same. We're going to put the rounded nuts on the top 2 spots, and then everything down below that is going to be the just normal standard nut. And once again, I'm starting from the top down. Don't try to start on the top and then do the bottom and then try to fill in the middle. Start from the top down. Really, the only difference with the end pieces compared to the side pieces is on the end pieces, I'm putting screws into every single hole. I'm not skipping any that we need for the supports, because there's not going to be any supports that are going lengthways across this bed. So when you're putting the ends together, just go ahead and put the screws all the way down, and then when you get this part done, make sure you get your other corner piece on, and also make sure that the corner piece is on the outside as well, and then make sure you get your rounded bolts 2 on the top, and then put the rest, just your standard nuts. I'm gonna go ahead and get this end piece finished and the other end piece finished, and then I'm gonna show you how everything kind of comes together. So what used to be 12 pieces individually is now 4 pieces, and this is gonna make it much easier to bring everything together. As the instructions say, we wanna take the corner pieces and make sure they are on the outside, so we're gonna go ahead and start right there. This is gonna be similar to what we've done throughout the day, but one thing is gonna be different. So the last time I said just go ahead and work your way all the way down. With this one, go ahead and get your top little round nut in, and then move over here to the other end and get the top nut in over here. And what that's gonna do is stabilize it so it's not wobbling back and forth on you. Now at this point, I can go through and put all the nuts in all the way down, and then I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. So I'm just gonna hand tighten the nuts down here, and then I'm gonna put the other wall up as well. Super easy. And then once we get done with that, we're gonna go ahead and put the support rods in. So let me get these side walls up on both sides, and we will come back for the support. All right, now it's time for the support beams that go across the bed. The 2 of these together are for the 4-foot bed, which is what we're doing today. They come with these little threaded screws here, so you thread it into the end until it stops. So just kind of thread it in, keep going, it kind of takes a minute, and then it's gonna stop. And then you take the smaller one and you thread it in on the other side. And then once you get these things threaded together, you get your support bar, and this is gonna go across the bed in this direction. So come in close, I'm gonna show you how I get these threaded in. If you remembered, we left all the holes for these support beams open, and that was for a reason. The first few times we did these beds, I promise, we put screws in these holes, and then we ended up having to pull the screws out just to get the supports in. So that's why we left those screws out in the first place, just to make this part of our life easier. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take the same screw that you're using for the rest of the bed and the same washer. You don't need a nut, and you wanna put the screw through the bed, the washer on the inside, and then you wanna take your support here and you wanna thread it in. And this can be kind of tricky to kind of hold on to this screw. You might need a screwdriver. There we go, finger tight, that's all I need. Now I'm gonna come over here to the other side, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So the screw goes through, the washer goes on, and I'm just gonna finger tight this on. And you might have to scoot the wall in a little bit, but that's what these are for, is to keep these walls where they need to be. And do this for both of the support beams. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other support beam, and this is where we are almost done. Gets exciting. The entire bed is finger tight. Everything's together, everything's where it needs to be, but we can't tighten it up right now because it's sitting on the grass and the grass isn't level. So if I were to go through and tighten everything up right now, the whole bed would be sitting crooked. And then when I go to put it in the garden, it's not gonna be very easy to get level. So don't tighten it up yet. But real quick, before we go over there and tighten everything down, do me a favor. Go down and hit the like button to show my cougar how much we appreciate her. I honestly don't see a world where we would have been able to scale up our garden like we are this year without her. Getting all 12 of these raised beds built as quickly as we did wasn't easy. We've got 5 kids, they keep us pretty busy, and while I was at work, she was at home helping me build these raised beds. So hit the like button to show support to her for helping me get this garden going this year. I appreciate it, thank you. Now, these are relatively easy to carry by yourself, but don't try to carry them by the support bars. It doesn't really work that way. Get your raised bed onto some flat cement. You wanna make sure it's perfectly level, or as level as you can possibly get it. And once it's there, we can start tightening everything up. Now, before you come over here and just start screwing everything in all nilly-willy, you wanna make sure you kind of get it situated. So I set this down, but that's all I did. I can see that this wall is kind of standing crooked and it's not perfect. So just kind of do a little, shimmy it. You just wanna shimmy it. Mosquitoes. There's so many mosquitoes out. This is the second day they've been out and it's driving me crazy already. Let's shimmy it. So I'm gonna kind of show you what I'm talking about. Right now it's not sitting level. Everything's kind of bowed in. So kind of stand it up. There we go. When you do that, all those screws are settling in and allowing everything to sit flat. Right here, they're sitting on something, rubber band. So kind of shimmy it around a little bit. Now everything's flat. And now we can go through and really just start zapping these in. I'm not gonna show you the whole process because it takes a minute, because there's 72 of these. But if you do have a drill, one thing I do wanna mention is if you're able to set the clutch on your drill, go ahead and do that. You don't wanna over tighten these. I would rather under tighten than over tighten. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this down to about 10 on this. This is a Ryobi drill. I'm gonna set this to about 10 and I'm gonna start drilling it now. The last step to this whole process is gonna be to put this little rubber-ish stuff on, and this is gonna kind of help you stop from cutting yourself when you're working in the garden. It's gonna make it kind of a nice, smooth finish up on the top. You're gonna want some scissors when you're doing this, and you're also gonna wanna keep in mind that this isn't just made out of this rubbery, plasticky, fabric-y stuff. There's actually metal on the inside of this. So when we were doing this, there was a few beds, it kind of took us a minute to get the hang of it, but as you're going through the transitions, when you're going through the transitions, you kind of have to work that metal around the transition. It's not too hard, but if you mess it up, you'll end up bending the metal in on this, and then if it's not going on and you're trying to force it and it's not working, maybe pull this off, look in the middle, make sure that metal isn't kind of crumpled, and if it is, you can get in there with a knife or butter knife or scissors, and you can actually bend it back out, and then it will lay over it just fine. So don't try. Oh, hey there, neighbor bud. So don't try to force it. You want to make sure that it's laying on there nice, because that metal can get crumpled up, and then you're not going to be able to get it on. So let's go ahead and get this on now. All right, so when I'm doing this, I like to start it kind of right before one of these transitions here, kind of work it on there, and then it's just a matter of working this on. Take it nice and slow. Like I said, you don't want to take that metal and crush it, because then it's not going to want to go on at all. And it happened to us quite a bit the other day when we were doing most of the beds, and Like right here, there's a transition. I want to make sure I kind of fold that around that transition without crushing that metal. It's really hard to see that metal at all without messing it up. Move this over to that side. It's hard to see that metal at all without actually making the mistake yourself. So hopefully you don't have to make that mistake, but you shouldn't have to force it. If you do have to force it, you are doing something wrong. All right, and right here, we're at the very end and we have a little bit extra. So all I'm gonna do is kind of figure out where that's gonna end and cut it. And I'm gonna cut it right here. Nice. And it's gonna lay down. There we go, nice and flat. You can't even tell there's a seam there. So what are my final thoughts? How do I feel about these beds after building 12 of them? Do I regret spending the crazy amount of money that I spent on 12 of them? And am I still gonna buy 4 more? I'm really happy with how they turned out. Yes, they are a little bit tedious to put together, but I need to do this one time. And next year I don't, and 5 years from now I don't, 10 years from now I don't. Like, these beds are gonna last a really long time. And it makes it worth kind of the little bit of extra effort that you're putting in now. They are a little bit pricey, but I can see the justification for spending the amount of money that they cost. Now, am I gonna buy 4 more because I need 16 beds and right now we have 12. So I didn't have any extra money to buy the extra 4. Yes, I'm still gonna buy 4 extra beds unless Vego Garden emails me back. We'll see. Yes, I'm gonna buy the 4 extra beds, make it 16, so I'll have 16 of these beds. I'm really happy with them and I'm excited to be using them and I'm excited to grow our food in them. The 2 biggest gripes I had were that they are really easily scratched. I don't think it's gonna have any kind of functionality issue, but they do scratch really easy. And then just how tedious it is to fish out all the hardware. I wish that they were separated a little bit. That would make the process so much easier. Other than that, I love them. They are amazing. But if you aren't ready to pay the price for the Vego Garden beds, or you're not quite ready to pull the trigger on getting those beds, this video is about these beds right here behind me. This is a really solid bed. This is a metal raised bed from a different company. This is still a solid product. Maybe the price difference is gonna make it worth it for you. So go ahead and check out that video and I'll see you over there.